Margaret Mary Ray and David Letterman. Margaret Mary Ray was born in 1953 and raised in Pennsylvania. She was described as intelligent, artistic, and creative, but from her late teens, she began to suffer from severe mental illness. Later diagnosed as schizophrenia, she experienced delusions, disorganized thinking, difficulty distinguishing fantasy from reality, and periods of homelessness and instability. Despite repeated hospitalizations, Ray often stopped treatment and medication. The delusion begins. Ray became convinced that David Letterman, the late-night television host, was her husband, the father of her children, sending her secret messages through his television show. This belief is a classic example of erotomania, a condition in which a person believes someone often famous has a romantic relationship with them despite no real contact. To Ray, this was not a crush. It was a fixed reality. First break-in, 1988. In 1988, Ray traveled to New York City and broke into David Letterman's home while he was away. She slept in his bed. She used his bathroom, wore his clothes, and rearranged items to make the home feel shared. When police arrived, she calmly told them, "I'm his wife." She was arrested, but the incident was treated primarily as a mental health issue, not a criminal threat. But over the next several years, Ray repeatedly returned to New York, showed up near Letterman's workplace, attempted to contact him, and also claimed publicly that they were married. She was arrested multiple times, but rarely held for long. Often released into psychiatric care, she will quickly return to the same delusions after discharge. At no point did she express violent intent toward Letterman, but her behavior was deeply intrusive and frightening. The Bridge Incident, 1991. In 1991, Ray was found wandering barefoot on the Williamsburg Bridge in New York. She told police she was waiting for David Letterman. He was supposed to meet her, and she believed they would go home together. This incident made headlines and underscored the seriousness of her illness. David Letterman rarely spoke publicly about the situation. However, he cooperated with authorities, increased security around his home, and avoided discussing Ray to prevent fueling her delusions. Those close to him later described the situation as unsettling, emotionally draining, and a reminder of the darker side of fame. Margaret Mary Ray's death. In 1998, at age 45, Margaret Mary Ray died by suicide, jumping from a ferry in New York Harbor. At the time of her death, she was homeless, still believed in her delusions involving Letterman. David Letterman later expressed sadness and compassion, emphasizing that Ray was seriously ill and needed help she never consistently received. Why this case matters. This story is often cited because there was no hatred, only delusion. The stalker believed she was acting as a spouse, not an intruder. The legal system struggled to balance compassion and protection. Mental illness went untreated repeatedly. Unlike other stalking cases, this threat was psychological rather than violent. The danger came from boundary erosion, not revenge. Follow us for more true stories that matters.